Not too many earthquakes here in Connecticut, but that's exactly what some members of one community says it feels like every time a company goes to work right next door.
Well, now they're complaining to officials about thousands of dollars in damage. But is anyone listening? News 8 Chief Investigator David Iverson joins us with details of how this neighborhood is now fighting back. David?
Right, Sonia, Darren, it's a process known simply as blasting. It happens all over the place, but for these home and business owners, they're saying the explosions are way too big and it's costing them thousands.
It feels like somebody's just picking up your house and dropping it down.
Besides being neighbors.
And when they blast over there, the whole place shakes.
Besides living and working in the same town.
Right over here, you see another crack starting?
All of these people have something in common.
It felt almost like an earthquake.
So there's one thing that could have caused this.
Yep, the blasting.
They live next to a site blasting apart rock, and neighbors on every side say their fuse has reached its end. It looks just like this, and these homeowners say the company doing it next door is rattling and wrecking their homes. For the last 2 years, it's been a near monthly occurrence in the town of Thompson.
Used to be crystal clear.
I would imagine what a 2 or a 3 on the Richter scale might feel like, just shaking.
That blasting has happened here at the site that Main Drilling and Blasting holds the permit to.
What would make it right? Shut them down.
This is ridiculous.
Town leaders, they're hearing the frustration too. According to state law, companies that do blasting like this have to keep the vibrations low, below 2 inches of movement per second.
It all comes down to one of these, a seismograph. Companies are required to tell towns how big their blasts are. Main Blasting says theirs are no worse than a slamming door.
It says so in the letter that Main Blasting sent in response to complaints. No way the damage could have come from their site, but even town leaders aren't convinced. At this meeting, they've stopped the company's work altogether until the blasting issue can be resolved.
Okay, great. The blasting is done for now, but what about the damage to homes and businesses? Who pays for it?
We had to put all these support.
Business owner Neil Patel says he's out thousands of dollars. Booze is his business, and every time they blast, he watches profit shatter in front of him.
My bottles would rattle. Occasionally, 1 or 2 bottles would go on the floor and break and shatter.
State regulators say in order for these people to see money back from the company, it all comes down to the seismograph. When and only if they go above the magic number do the penalties and fines from the state begin. We were told the only person who had the numbers from the main blasts was the Thompson Fire Marshal, Rick Hayes. We stopped by to see him at his other job as the Putnam Police Chief. We were not welcomed.
Why don't you leave before you get yourself in trouble?
After repeated ignored phone calls and emails, we stopped by. But when Hayes saw our camera, he turned around without talking to us.
Now, listen, we have some serious questions about this.
Hayes did agree to talk to us, but without the camera. He said he spends just 15 hours a week as the Thompson Fire Marshal and merely signs off on company blast reports. He never copies the reports from the blasts, nor does he attend them in person or know exactly when they're happening. If we wanted to see the raw data, Hayes said, we would have to get it from Main Blasting. We've asked them repeatedly for it. We're still waiting.
This is the ledge, yeah.
This is not just an issue for Thompson residents. This is an issue investigators say is happening across the state. And for some, the inaction is nothing new.
What happened was that I was fine and they blasted, and now I'm not fine.
Chester resident Deborah Ringe says she's lost $15,000 fighting City Hall over a neighbor's blast that she claims dried her well. She's now working with a senator to rewrite state code.
You want to blast? Fine, you pay. And, help us out here. We didn't do anything. We're innocent. I want them to stand up for the innocent party. I want them to work for us.
Now, that state senator I mentioned is Republican State Senator Art Laniers. He's now looking into changing how the state regulates these blasts. We could see a draft introduced when the session begins next February.
All right, so David, where is the town of Thompson now on this?
Well, they're still waiting what the company is doing. They've agreed to pre-blast surveys when they just look at the ground before they blast again. But there's another meeting coming up next week to find out whether or not they're allowed to start blasting again. We're expecting a little bit more contention there then.
All right.
All
He'll
right,
be
David,
watching.
thanks.
David Iverson, thanks very much. Listen, if you've got something you want us to look into, you can count on the News 8 investigators to get you answers. Call our News 8 investigators tip line. That's the number on your screen, 203-402-TIP-8.